Getting closer. This could be the one right now. That's not it. So, where is this stream? Why can I not see it yet? It's coming. I hear it on my phone. It's coming. I guess how to share that. Live now, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's see if this works. Okay, guys. I need to see if I can see it streaming live. 2 watching, they're both me. That is quite the delay. Okay, this is a little bit of a delay, but it's still pretty promising. And way better, way better than a damn cam from the laptop. So I'm gonna give it a couple minutes to try and get people involved. Oh, somebody's saying it's during Formula Drift. I'll have this going in and out as I work on that. Let's see. Yeah, it's just a test. Really hardcore first. The first you guys get to see this first here. It looks like, oh, Brad, I see Brad and Ezra. I see both you guys in. Oddly enough, let's see if the chat shows up. Oddly enough, there's a, yeah, I had time to shave, and this girl, I cleaned it up. Actually, I was a little late because I went and got my hair cut, and she took chunks out of the sides of my hair. It's really bad, and so I cleaned it up a little bit, but yeah, there's about like a 20-second delay, and the reason why is I'm actually using my GoPro. So I just bought a 7 because maybe this will work. Maybe we'll be able to have the chest mount piece, so maybe you guys will watch me work on the engine. So it's weird because I can't see myself real time. I'm watching, I can see the laptop shows me like 30 seconds ago, so it's really trippy of all the things I've filmed. So I guess I'll just have to go off of comments, and you'll have to wait like 20-30 seconds for me to respond. But you know what, it's neat. This is kind of a cool first test run. Quite frankly, and I love that there's even just 2 people. That makes it kind of more intimate. there's been so much going on, so much going on, and I'm about 3 videos behind. Tabs or spaces? Yeah, Jarrett's. Yeah, Ezra. Yeah, exactly. So as Jarrett announced, he's leaving, and the funny part is there's no drama. I wish there was like more dramatic. I wish there was like a blowout or something like that. You know, that he left because we had an argument. Quite frankly, I'm a very intense person. Very intense person. If you guys know me in person, it's more than just what you see here. Actually, you Patreon guys probably get a better glimpse of it because you see this right now. But you wouldn't know me if I wasn't an intense person, because I wouldn't be weird enough to do this forwarder stuff. Anyway, you know, we've been just like pulling all-nighters, doing just crazy stuff to make this work. And you know, Jarrett's young. He doesn't realize that, you know, when you're that obsessed with something, you go all the way out until you see it through. So the neat part is, or the weird part for him is that the neat part for me is that this is the highest month, most everything. We actually have an engine, we have a car, everything's. So he kind of went out on the top. I think 60 days too soon, but I already saw pictures of him with his girlfriend, and so I can understand. I fully understand it. So a little bit of a blow to the channel, but overall, you know, gotta take care of people's mental health. So yeah, okay, Brad. Yeah, so there's a delay. This is the first time I've ever used a GoPro doing this, but I think you guys know I love image quality, and the webcam completely sucks on any sort of laptop or anything like that. So I just couldn't even bring myself to doing any sort of live streaming like that. So I'll give you guys a really quick update, and this is like probably the, yeah, Ashley sends in the quality is great. Yeah, it's perfect. I'm very happy. I can see myself in my Italian hands off in the corner here. What is neat, and I'm hoping, I guess we'll test it now, because again, right now is all a test. So the idea is that I could take this, and instead of my, you know, having my laptop, you see how far behind I am, instead of having the laptop and trying to hold it, it's a little GoPro here, so I'm sure it'll burn through its battery quickly. Last night, you guys will see this video first, but even you are still 2 videos behind, because with Jarrett leaving, I have to do everything. I have to do all this. I have to work on the car. I have to edit, all of that. Back to how I was, but I mean, when you have this in your life, I mean, I'm more of an engineer at the moment. So I did get an editor from Built to Apex. I got the new pan in. Everything's almost fully bolted in. I let the gasket, you know, maker seal overnight, but the engine was missing a pressure regulator for the oil. So had I not caught that, we would have gone to plug it in and the oil wouldn't build pressure. Not that it would have blown the engine, but that would have sucked big time, big time. So I'll be honest, this whole process right now, buffering every 15 seconds. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to keep track of that. You guys will definitely let me know if there's issues. But again, you guys are kind of hearing this first. This whole, I don't know how to word this. This whole process is nuts. This is it. The pinnacle of this car is happening in the next 60 days, and I'm all alone. So I'll be honest. Thanks for you guys for joining, because it's kind of bittersweet. Here I am. Jarrett went back to Michigan, and this is like this is the history in the making, and I'm just here by myself. So you guys kind of get to hang out with me, a little bit of camaraderie there. What is going on right now with the engine? Really, I could almost pull an all-nighter and get the engine fired up on the stand. That would be foolish, and I would ruin a lot of content in the process. But that's about how much work is left to get just the engine to turn over, fire up, and to shut it back off. I've got intake manifold I've modified. I've got just all these major pieces out of the way. I'm waiting on a trigger wheel, but I'll cannibalize the shit out of the Corvette to make the four-rotor run. I don't care. Let's see. 13-piece swap Challenger. Yeah, that would be the thing right there. That'd be the thing right there. It'd be weird to see a massive vehicle like that swapped. So Isaiah, you guys have seen Isaiah before on the channel. He does a lot of the fabrication. He thankfully is coming in next week, so a week from whatever, 19th, 20th, and he's gonna help finish the front part of the chassis. And so again, this is you guys are getting all the scoop. I am bringing the car to SEMA, and that's not like a 4th year in a row type of thing. Like, oh, my plan is to go to SEMA. I have 2 major commitments coming up with SEMA that I have to go to. One is that a company asked me, hey, what would it take for us to bring the 4-rotor to SEMA? And I'm like, honestly, and I gave them a dollar amount to try and, like say, hey, it's just not worth it. And they said, okay. And so between all of your support, between Holly giving us about $10,000 in fittings, which you'll see in a second, and then this company, the car's making it to SEMA. The crazy part is the chassis is going to be raw. I'm probably going to cut the whole front end off just to really like piss people off. But it's also to show that, hey, I'll have an all-wheel drive 4-rotor RX-7. The goal is to get it running before then, have it squawk the tires. Yeah, and Josh, that's exactly it. My Bluetooth wireless driveless drive shafts are actually, that was a bit of a clusterfuck. You guys will see this in a second. But here are all the major components. We've got all the big pieces. The company that does the carbon fiber drive shafts is coming out shortly to bond them. They held me up a little bit, but we have things like this. And no, that's not a dildo. I guess if you're really into it, it could be. But this is the output piece for the GTR transfer case. It's like chromoly, heat treated. We're just making an insanely strong drivetrain. So that is going to be here. I'm hoping 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm sure it'll be. I'm sure they'll screw me over and it'll be down to the wire. But that's how it works, right? So all drivetrain. I have all the pieces. We just need the carbon fiber tubes bonded to each of those end pieces. It's going to require a little bit of welding, but we have all the ends. That's huge. That's very huge. Built to Apex. Natter came through on some serious stuff. Those will be the next 2 videos, including something as simple as this, holding all the coils on top of the engine. So that'll be hidden. And you'll see it in the video. He went and 3D scanned everything, and then sure enough, the tolerance worked perfectly. So check this out. So you can see we have an issue with the steering. We'll deal with that. Steering's last, but it's connected, not just shit. But you see how the tip of that alternator bracket is clearanced inside of there? That was done all in 3D before he finished it. So thank God. We have alternator, oil system, everything's all in place. It would definitely be, this is definitely SEMA, definitely everything last minute. I have, 50 days now? Yeah, so Mark and OB time, is there body and full disclosure, I don't care at the moment. I never did. I feel like, and just so you guys know, I have that massive project plan. My goal was to bring a running chassis that can do burnouts with an all-wheel drive massive turbo 4-rotor, have done a burnout, and then just drop that video long dick style right before SEMA. I don't care if there's floors, I don't care if there's an interior. What I visioned to do, I did. And so I do have a company really, really close to here that can actually turn these body panels into, here, what kind of angle so you guys get to see more of the car. Turn the body panels into carbon fiber, but that's, I don't know, my brain is juggling all of this at once, and there's only so much that you can do. I mean, running the channel and trying to invent something that hasn't existed and doing a lot of fabrication, it's honestly got me pretty tapped out. So the reason I'm thinking that is we take the fenders off, we take the bumper off. By the way, intercoolant radiator just got approved last night. The company's making them to my spec. I made them in CAD, and here, I'll show you this. Hang on. This could straight up pass. The surface area, the volume of this is bigger than the Insight radiator. Look at that. Look how thick that is. 2-inch core, can hold a quart of oil. The wide angle camera is going to give you a little bit of a, going to ruin it a little bit, but there, look at how massive that is. Even the fan, I've got the fan for one side. That's one of the 2 oil coolers on this motor. And so those fit, I mean, I maxed out the space. And that. So what I was saying is that from edge of the tire, with clearance, to the other extreme, there's just gonna be oil coolers and radiators and intercoolers maxed out. So it's just gonna be, having the body off lets me show off all those vendors. I think that's kind of what I'm hoping there. And go with the interior, uptime, the interior to look like as stock as possible. And I actually got into arguments with all the other fabricators and everything, because they're like, oh no, we can't do this. We have to. I want it to look like an FD as much as possible. So stock dash, stock door cards, center console starts getting weird because of the shifting and everything. The back, I don't know. Obviously, it's gonna start looking a little race car when you have the fuel cell right behind me and all that. And yeah, Mark, I was looking for someone a few weeks ago because Abel was throwing up some serious obstacles, and as you can tell, again, he's not here. I'm not trying to sound pity party. We're at the home stretch, but I'm alone. I have nobody else helping me that was in on the project. And it's the weirdest thing, because you'd think that people do that when it's a failure, when the car is like, oh, it's a joke. Let me show you what. Yeah, Abel, kind of, he's going through his own things. I think that's what's going on. But look at this. This is a thing of beauty. I don't even want to install all of this. That, if you're wondering, is about $10,000. All the things, including what's in there. That's about $10,000 in parts. All the AN fittings for the oil system, for the coolant system, and gas. And so, I mean, we're on the home stretch, but Abel's not a really good planner. Again, I'm giving you guys the straight answers here. He's not a good project planner. He's not a good business owner. He's an excellent friend and an excellent mechanic, but I need somebody who's more, business focused. 2 years blew through, and I still don't have a 4-rotor, and so I had to buy a second one. And so it's something where. You guys have been encouraging me, and honestly, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And I'm not even saying that just, because you're here. I straight up would be asked out. Like, I'm alone, and I've got an expensive car, and yet we did it. We pushed it. So it's terrifying because, sorry, I'm rambling a little bit. It's just finally a chance to talk to somebody. The vision was, Abel kept saying, oh, you need to do the body before we can finish the rest of the car. No, we don't. You don't do that. And so as a result, let me check the things. Yeah, exactly. Form over function, or whatever. The function before, I can remember which one's which. The function will dictate the look. And so, for example, I went so far as to pick this up. And again, this will be in another video. This is a tube bender, and the company was going out of business. Fortunately, at the time that I reached out looking, and so I saved almost $1,000. This can bend 1 3/4 pipe, 1.5 inches, and then inch tube, And why does that matter? Because we're gonna gut all of this and make it beautiful tubing. And so it's not so much structural, because the chassis is, the chassis. I'm not gonna mess with control arm mounting points or anything like that. Not mess with that. But the radiators and everything are going to mount into this nasty front bar setup, all complex curves, because why not? It's beautiful, and capable of being jacked the entire weight of the car up from the front with bending. All of that sort of stuff is planned in. So that's again why I want to leave the body off. I did the calculations. To do a car at 300 miles an hour, a square foot hits like 240 pounds of force. If it was a square, is 240 pounds of force pushed against every square foot of the front of the car at 300 miles an hour. That's, again, very basic, simplified calculations. And so the whole tube chassis can handle being pushed against that hard. Actually, by the end of this, that's actually kind of the goal. Is I didn't plan on being a fab shop, but it's like to own I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm going to post this on Instagram at some point. To own a 2-rotor, you have to be a tinkerer, FD, any of you guys that own 2-rotors, you have to know how to tinker. To own a 3-rotor, you definitely have to be a mechanic. You really, to make it worthwhile, a 3-rotor takes a lot of mechanic skills. But to own a 4-rotor, you have to be a fabricator. Like, you look at the guy out in New Zealand that has it, or I mean, race teams, that doesn't count. They are fabricators. Anybody I know that owns a 4-rotor ends up having to fabricate so much. So why not be able to do it yourself? Yeah, Wade, that's right. So I'm not rushing. What I'm doing right now is a very, 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 very smart business move. And the sad part is I wouldn't even have to rush. I've had 2 years to do this. And if anything, nobody's taken the advice of get their ass moving more seriously. And so I've got, 50 days? And so in my project plan, I could have, like I said, in about 24 hours of work, I could have this engine started and turned over. That's exhilarating, and you guys will be there for that. And the guys from Hoonigan want to help do like a launch party for that. That's like, full circle. That's one of the coolest things ever. So you guys will be, if we get this fine-tuned, which is actually pretty solid, we'll do that. So while that's going on, that's 2 weeks. External goals, 2 weeks. I can work on the chassis. And again, all it is, as far as I'm concerned, is getting all of the fuel, all of the oil, all of the air, and all of the gas, that's fuel, coolant, power steering I think would be another one, routed. I can have a shitty battery in the passenger seat, I don't care. The point is that the engine has its roots in the vehicle. Let's see, so just start the tour of life in January. Yeah, Philip, that's awesome that you have a wife that loves it, because you guys actually spend some cool time together. Do I expect this to do 300 miles an hour? No, and yes. I'm building it to do 300 miles an hour. The transmission, which is over here, the transmission's geared right now with the rear diff to do 255. And so the quick answer is, I'm gonna do 255 miles an hour. That's gotta happen. And so if I'm building for 250, why not say 300? And really, I think what we'll do is we'll leave the transmission the same, but the gearing in the rear and front diff can just swap out as needed. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. I mean, doing 250 miles an hour is already crazy enough, and then I would hold the record for the fastest rotary ever. So, don't fall off. So, I think what'll happen is, and again, this kind of goes to the don't rush it thing, is that I'm gonna get a certain phase of the car done by SEMA. Raw, rough, engine idling, drop jaws, you guys are in on it now, but like the general public would be just like, holy shit, he wasn't lying, it's really happening. Give them a taste, and then iteratively, add to it, make it more of a car, and then go break my own record at the half mile, and then, continue on. So 200 miles an hour, shake the car down, go for 242, which is the Mazda's top speed record, and then maybe sit there for a little bit and start working on steering. Jake, on fire, hey. And so, yeah, just wiring harness, I'll answer them in order. So the wiring harness, Josh, let me grab it. Okay, so this wiring harness is probably one of the greatest achievements of my Focus in a long time. I'll explain a little bit about what's going on here. One, this part of the harness is designed obviously to plug into the ECU. This one plugs into the ignition system. We'll talk about that in a second. And this one goes to the car, getting power into the harness, connecting to the tach, clutch switch, all of that. So that stays on that side of this harness. And then the easy stuff, all of the monitoring and all of the injectors. So injectors are pretty easy. Oil pressure sensor, oil temp sensor, E85, crank angle, all of that. So that's modular. It stays in this harness, and as you can see, pretty damn bendable. So that harness ultimately goes somewhere over there. What's this then? This is the Corvette. This is gonna get a little bit of dust for the moment. This is the Corvette's ignition harness. And why does that matter is that I can just take this, which only has, as you can see here, 4 lines. But I can take this, plug this into that harness, and now I have the 2-rotor ignition. So what I'm going to do is now make one of these for the 4-rotor. It's going to have all 8 for all 8 spark plugs, and you know, the power line, obviously, to power the coils. And so I just need to make that one. And I'm going to make some changes onto that one from this one. Like, for example, see how I used really thick gauge wire? Awesome. You know, if you guys are familiar with these coils, you have to ground the coils to each rotor. So it makes sense, you know, it's a power circuit, and so the spark plug actually ends up kind of going full circuit through these. Instead, I'm gonna do something more like this, where I use 2 wires for each rotor, because look at it, kind of made a knot right here, and it's very inflexible, because I had to splice these into multiple up here. So everything passes, everything looks solid, but that's for the Corvette. So we can make some power on that when we get back to that. And the 4-rotor will be slightly thicker. So yeah, the 4-rotor, it's kind of funny. And actually, you mentioned it. Here, let me go. I gotta grab the 3-rotor harness. But give me a second. Jake on Fire, excited about our conversations, man. By the way, looking forward to it. Sasha, body kit fabrication. I think after SEMA. I do have a stretch goal that if I can get everything going, and then with Isaiah coming in, which is going to be heaven sent, just move this camera a little bit more towards the car. The goal is all the front fenders, bumper, and hood would all be carbon fiber. But if I do all that at SEMA, nobody can see what actually matters. So that's not high priority at the moment. Color I want it to be. You know what? I picked this, as you guys know, I picked this color to be like pewter, like a prototype color, but I've really grown to love it. I think what I'm gonna do for the initial is it'll be wet looking carbon fiber. That's just sick. So the whole body is gonna be carbon fiber, so I might as well leave it exposed, and then maybe wrap it back to this color. My original goal was all black, but if you're paying for carbon fiber, you kind of want to see it. Let's see, ECU. So Ezra, I'm using the M6000 Adaptronic. I used the M2000 on the Corvette and the 3-rotor. The 6000 is going to help me with, let me show you this. You guys are also the first to see this. So again, Holley, they own Earls, which is all those fittings I just showed you earlier. Holley owns like 27 companies. Look at this. This is the current throttle body I'm going to be using. It's huge, absolutely massive. This is cable driven for simplicity, but some of you guys may recognize that is the bolt pattern for an LS 92 to 102 millimeter throttle body. I actually ended up modifying the thing I got for that, so I can swap, and I will swap to a drive-by-wire throttle body on this car, because when I downshift on that transmission, I want that throttle to respond to that. And so initially we'll go cable driven just to keep it simple, but the Adaptronic M6000 has a module for drive-by-wire. Let's see. I do still owe the car throttle guy, man, you don't forget that one. Yeah, those guys are gonna help promote the car as this goes crazy. Let me show you the 3-rotor harness. I still have it, by the way. Looks a little different, right? A little bit. They're both basically the same quality. This is what happens when you planned on doing the other one, and then time and oil got in the way. There, you can see it all right in there. That's where everything mixed in. Oh, you can see the purple one's definitely exposed. And they touched each other and shorted everything out, so that sucks. But functionally, or at least electronically, there's not that much different between this and that one. Really, it's more of a presentation and protection. So this one was definitely experimental. I didn't know what I was going to be doing while I was doing it. Now it's like, oh, 2-rotor. I'm going to put in the sensor here. I'm going to use this sensor, so you can kind of think after the fact. This one, the reason why I never put all of the protection on it is as soon as you crimp these on, you can't slide the, what do you call it, heat sink over it, or heat shrink over it. So I was like, oh shit, this is how long I want it. I start crimping them. I'm like, oh, well, now I can't protect it. So it's still here. It's in our spirits. It's watching over us, making sure we don't fry another ECU. Okay. Looks like Widowmaker black. Yeah, the 3-rotor, which is over in the back corner there. With all this fabrication I've been doing, that car is going to get the special treatment. And that's another reason why I have that tube bender is, again, flexing what little muscles I have in fabrication, bringing that up a level. Yeah, Philip, the Montego Blue, it's something that I'm never going to change about this. I'll show you this. Montego Blue is one of my favorite colors. So underrated, but as you can see, with this being a wrap, the blue is still in on these parts. When I go to cut the chassis off, the rest of this chassis off to make it just tube chassis, there's going to be a cut here, but I'm still going to have to leave some metal in here for the door frame. And so I think I kind of want to keep that Montego Blue. All this will be carbon fiber, this carbon fiber, the roof will be carbon fiber, but I think I want to keep that as it is. One of the things I'm not looking forward to, and I'm going to fight everybody that tries me, otherwise, is if I go to compete in this car, you have to have door, crossbars here, right? It's for safety reasons. Fuck that. I hate race cars. I hate them for that reason. So they're gonna be removable at the very least, and I want to be able to drive it on the street, so I don't screw with that stuff. So oxygen tanks, fire suppression. Yeah. So safety is a very big concern about this. One of the first things that I'm doing with this car that is different for me is every single shutoff is on the ECU. I love pushing limits, but this car is different. And so one of the things that are different about it is, and I tried my hand at welding a little bit. It didn't turn out bad. Just thankfully Isaiah was going to make it even better. So for example, and I'll answer the full question in a second, but the first part is each rotor is getting an exhaust gas temp, which I have, and each rotor is getting O2 sensor, which I have. So the idea is that oil pressure can shut the car off, fuel pressure can shut the car off, obviously temperatures can shut the car off, any sort of individual rotors having problems can shut the car off. So I have like a whole safety procedure if this car is in the performing mode and something bad happens, shut things down. So that's very important, partially for engine protection and safety, obviously for my own safety as well. I'm not using methanol, so you can see if there's flames. One of the issues that I think I'm a little worried about, honestly, from a safety standpoint, is that the cage is very small. And so, like a Hans device, that whole thing where there's that cage around the person's head, that's barely going to fit, if at all. And so we got some weird shit we have to figure out there. I do have 5-point harnesses, with the anti-submarine dick belt. So those are really nice. We'll be installing those soon. No airbags, obviously. Let's see, frame it, hang it up. Oh yeah, Jay, I definitely would frame that. There's a couple things I'd want to hang up. If for whatever reason this engine blows up, or I'm 7 years old and live that long, that oil pan is a piece of art I would want hanging up on the wall. Yeah, exactly, Brad. I don't like climbing through a jungle gym. I did that as a kid, and fell and hit my nuts. Actually, no joke, when I was like in 2nd grade. So I'm not a huge fan of metal bars between my legs. Yeah, hard enough to get through it FD as it is. You're correct. So I think one of the plans that are shifting a little bit, and this is a good thing, because I didn't announce it, is that my goal was to have the engine fired up and then the engine dynoed before SEMA. Because I had no plans on taking the car to SEMA. So the engine was like, hey, we've got an engine, it's fired up, the public knows that, and boom, here's the insane horsepower. Come to SEMA and say, hey, it didn't matter if I brought the car or not. Since that original plan has changed to bringing the chassis to SEMA because the company wanted me to, I'm gonna do the engine dyno. I'm gonna take the engine back out and do an engine dyno outside of the car after SEMA. And so that's gonna be stupidly insane. And you know what? What do you guys think? How many of you guys are in here? Let's see if you guys want to do something a little special. Just kind of rewarding you guys for being so involved. Somebody shows me participants. Okay, yeah, there's 5 of you. That's worth it. So let me show you. This is something that I'm gonna unveil in a video, and I haven't even unboxed it yet because I'm just so damn excited. So you guys get to experience this moment with me. So as I was just showing you all of these fittings, and I haven't even talked about those hoses or anything else like that. Let's set this out of the way. Don't need, no, let's set this somewhere really out of the way. Don't need that having problems. So there's the oil pump, by the way. This is probably the most exciting thing for me, considering some of the failures I've had relying on vendors in the past. And so if you see this right here, if you guys are familiar with cars enough, this is a stupidly big pressure regulator for fuel. And the only reason you would need something that big is if you have an insane amount of fuel going through the car. And so I do. This is probably, I don't know, this is super important to me. And the reason why is because I've been dicked around by a lot of people that tell me what they like and what they're good at and what the products they think work. And this is me making a stand and saying, you know what, this is my car, this is what I believe in, and this is the direction I'm going in. Since then, this is probably the correct way to do it. And so I'm going to be introducing this in its own, you know, the titles of the videos, I think you guys get it. The whole point of those extreme title videos is to appeal to the general public, when really there's meat and potatoes, there's substance here. But, okay, this is super exciting to me. It is, from first glance, just a dual pump setup, right? You know, it looks nice and straightforward. Holley makes it, or at least they support it. I think that they resell part of it. Let's get this off of here. This is a dual brushless pump fuel system. Probably one of the nastiest things I've ever seen. And so I'm coming back to my laptop so I can see if you guys have any questions or anything like that. This is, I think, like $2,000 on Holley's website. And so they gave this to me. It's adjustable height-wise, but 10 AN fuel out. So we have massive fuel flow. This thing can flow, I think, 6 or 7 gallons per minute, which is 3 times the amount that the 3-rotor ever could. And these pumps are so efficient because they're brushless pumps versus brushed pumps, that these only take, I think, up to total, this whole unit powering this circuit is only, I think, 38 amps, 18 or 38 amps. I can't remember if that's 1 or 2 or what. This is monumental. This is a big deal for me, because we're doing E85 and going for the stupid amount of power. The neat part about this is that this they have, normally brushless pumps are just on and off, and so you end up heating up your fuel and causing vapor lock and shit like that. These are staged. They can stage, you have this whole controller that you can adjust when they come on. They have a high and low mode. So really you can have off, on low, on high, on low, on high, and then like binary on and off of each of these. And so you can actually control the amount of fuel that you're planning. And the scary part about that is that normally when you're tuning, you just have fuel on and the pressure regulator does that. This, you have more control, but oh my God, how sick, how absolutely sick. So Abel would never have approved me to get this. So I've been fighting kind of the old school mentality, but because I have such a nice alternator, why not, utilize this? This requires like half of the current draw that the 3-rotor had at 1,000 horsepower. Half. That's amazing. So you guys, a handful of you guys here, this is kind of a cool moment for us. That this is something I've wanted very badly. Oh my God, you can actually see it. I don't know if the GoPro will show you. They're like mini root style superchargers. They're straight up like just pulling in. I'm gonna watch the live stream to make sure it shows you, it gives you justice on this. It looks like dual roots, and that's all there is to it. So yeah, this is the holy grail of fuel pumps. So you guys are gonna have to do me a favor, and when you see that video, you're gonna have to acknowledge that I'm gonna have to act surprised because I wanted to show you guys first. So it's funny, when I get super surprised, I get like this. I'm like, holy shit. But you know, YouTube loves drop jaw sort of entertainment there. Okay, so let me review this. With the engine behind you, do you intend on going all out on power? Okay, so Brad, you guys want to know the drama side of this engine? I think I've told you guys in private, that engine has a special bearing in the very center. It's got a 4-piece crank. So unlike the 3-piece cranks, this thing actually is stable, more stable than any other 4-rotor ever made. I've been publicly saying that this is my test engine, only to try and be nice to Abel, but the fact is, this engine is capable of making the power that I'm looking to make. The downside is if I break it, then I'm, break my toys and then I'm back out with no content. So I think what I'm gonna do is, on the engine dyno, is definitely phone it in, go for over 1,000 easily, and then review how shaky it feels, if anything's going on. I've talked to Abel and sat down with him and said, I need my other engine built after SEMA. I need it. This is a joke. I need my other engine built. And so hopefully, once I have the other engine built, I can push this one further or push that one further and always have one to keep the car running. Very important to me because, YouTube lives and dies by, having a good run up. So, oh yeah, electric water pump. Yeah, Josh, so the electric water pump, for me, I use that on the Corvette as a test. A lot of this is actually based off the Corvette that I was testing too. 3-rotor Corvette. The only thing that's weird about the electric water pump is that it does not produce pressure. It's like 2 to 3 PSI is like where it starts struggling. So it's all about flow. I'm curious to see how that handles, if it creates hot spots in the engine. We'll see that one together. So I'm excited, but I'm also a little concerned. The pump itself is a little bit smaller than everything else is capable of flowing. Where's the piece? Let me show you this. This is kind of cool too. So Nader built me this custom piece. You've seen it on the Corvette, but what's so important about it is that I've honed it out a little bit more. You'd have to have a 5-axis machine to do it otherwise, but to maximize the amount of flow of coolant in and out of this damn motor. I want coolant going in as quick as possible, obviously absorbing as much heat as possible, and then exiting as quick as possible. Obviously you want it to stay in the engine long enough to absorb heat. So I'm, at least getting it in and out is going to be quick. But you see these are 20 AN. They're huge, massive. What's the intent of running? Is there any chance you cannot be ran at max output? I guess to answer the other part of your question, Brad, part of me is pretty convinced that I might just end up running this engine and never see my other engine run, just because this last 2 years I've been waiting on it. And so I do have other vendors that could build the engine. I paid for 90% of it a long time ago. And so I think you guys have seen me joking and not joking about the C8 Corvette. The C8 Corvette actually makes sense to 4-rotor swap, and here's why. I'll have spent, this engine cost 55 grand plus shipping plus importation fees. It ended up being like 61 US, 61 grand. The other engine's gonna be about 50, maybe more actually, but I've spent 50. That's a lot of money to have tied up into something, right? And so why not make the C8 Corvette, get sensational with that as well, and recoup some of the cost of having to buy a second engine. If I didn't buy this engine, guys, I would be nowhere. That's what's sad. I've been fed a lot of stories for a long time, and I'm a very easygoing guy, but my future's been at stake. And so I went and just, did what needed to be done and bought the second engine. And here we are with only that engine, so it's a little terrifying that that was the right decision. Skeletor, you get to see that, yeah, that turbo. The video doesn't, you're right, the video doesn't do it justice. I must have a huge head or something like that. That turbo, oh, I feel bad sitting on the ground right there, is stupid big. Stupid big. It's amazing. Corito, yeah, we're gonna be at SEMA. It's gonna be a company called Gorilla Grips. You'll see me promoting them because they're making this also possible. They're putting a lot of money into this phase. They're kind of a late comer to the project, but like I said, they've been supported very quickly. So you'll see like Grease Monkey or Gorilla Grips gloves. That's them. So that's the booth it's going to be in. And yeah, so yeah, Sasha, that second part of your question is Able still building the second one. I answered kind of that part. The advantages it would have over this one is that Able does have some tips and tricks up his sleeve. He's pretty damn good at his 3 rotors, but my concern is that he's never actually pushed more power out of a 4 rotor. The video that you saw of mine with David's car, that's the most power he's ever. He didn't build that engine. He didn't, so he won't admit it, but he's not familiar with 4 rotors. But he's really familiar with rotary engines, and so I wish he could set his ego aside and focus and say, okay, you know what? I need to, admit, take a look, watch the stats. I mean, he's an old school guy, so I'm a little concerned that he'll miss things because he's focused on how he's always done it. And so I believe that he could make more power out of his engine. But I hate to say it, I think that this engine's capable of making more power because of that center bearing. Everybody's, Mad Mike's team and all those guys never talk about any of this, but the guy Carl Thompson that sold me this motor, he would share pictures of that the whole thing would flex. Like if these are the 4 rotors, it would flex like this. And so these 2 rotors the apex seals are supposed to be horizontal, right? They would start crashing in to the very center of the housings, and these would do the exact opposite. That's the sort of stuff that everybody's pride gets in the way. They don't share that sort of information with you. So having this center bearing may solve that problem. Fuel is going somewhere. Fuel's going to go everywhere for sure. Let's see. And how well do you think the billet irons are going to do? Yeah. So the billet irons, another kind of behind the scene thing. These irons are built from the same basic concept as Pack Performance's irons, where these irons don't have replaceable faces. There's advantages and disadvantages to that. Whereas the Billet Pro ones that I'll be using in the other motor have removable faces. The other thing that I'll tell you guys, man, you guys are getting all the information. This is what you get when I'm lonely. Billet Boss is coming out with 4 rotor irons as well, and they've been good to me too. So I'm gonna support companies that support me, and at the end of the day, I'm gonna make it clear if their product breaks on the dyno, or more importantly to me, breaks when you're just idling it. Like I need this engine to run more than just a quarter mile, And so you guys will know, the world will know if my products don't work. And so this one's, even though this is the most experimental engine out there, it's probably one of the most solid ones. So curious to see that. Yeah, Abel did say that, Chato is building up his brother's FD. Again, Abel is a excellent person, one of my best friends, but he's just slow, and he comes through ultimately, but I wouldn't have a channel left if I kept waiting. Netter is saving my ass right now. 4-rotor C8 would definitely break the internet, which has helped offset the amount of cost I put into engines. Oh, Sasha, yeah, that's so I one or two approaches with the C8. One is wait till a crash run happens, but that might actually be worse because now I have to try and find parts for a brand new car that's not available. So I might actually I'm gonna do a couple videos with the CTSV because some companies want me to. I think that's a dumb idea. Again, between us, please support the videos and like them, but understand that big companies don't understand always what people want. Gorilla Grips gets it, Holley gets it, but like for example, Goodyear, they don't make tires for the 4-rotor. They don't make tires for any other cars other than the CTSV. They have a new tire coming out. You guys can see that too. So this is going to be a sponsored post, and here's the real reason I'm doing it. First of all, cool, free tires. That's awesome. They look awesome. They look great. The guys that are involved, and you guys are gonna love this. This may never happen. This is just the business side of it. The company, the ad agency that works for Goodyear, also takes care of Doritos, Frito-Lay. I am kissing ass. I'm doing everything possible to try and get Doritos to understand why they need to get involved in the rotary engine world. It's just untapped for them. So I'm working very hard on that one. Okay. What sort of port is on the 4-rotor behind me? So on this engine, I'll show you. What's important is that this engine has something that you'd be more familiar with. Ported, it's a large street port. I don't know why he had those covered. Well, probably because they're coolant jackets that need to be plugged. It's a large street port. And again, the center iron is the magic. That's always the magic behind everything, right? The center iron. You can see the ports are larger than the primary ports. So primary ports are always smaller, less air goes through them. That's where your smaller injectors normally go. And then on a traditional rotary engine, it's this wider shape. But this, you can't get wider because it's got to be 40 millimeters wide of iron, so it goes a little taller. So, you know, that's one rotor, that's 2 rotors, 3 rotors, and 4 rotors. So it's all side ported. I would think of it similar to my 3-rotor. A massive street port can make a fuck ton of power. I know a handful of you guys are like, oh, you know, bridge porting and peripheral porting. You know, the sounds, and I agree, but my other 4-rotor will be semi-peripheral ported. Going full peripheral port is actually not good for 90% of what I want to do. So you'll never see me go full peripheral port. Red line of that engine. So I'm gonna stick to about 9,000, maybe go 9,500. What the answer to that is going to come down to the torque curve and the power curve. If it starts dropping off, I guess think of if you don't even look at the RPM range down here. If you look at the horsepower curve, and you know it kind of comes. Let's see. I'm gonna see. It should go up like this for you guys. It's reversed. So 0 RPM all the way up, and then it starts to die off. My goal is to take the transmission RPM shifting, so low part of the gear to the high part of the gear, and find where you have the most of the curve. You know, it doesn't do you good to be all the way going up, doesn't do you good to be all the way down. You want to get the most amount of power in your RPM range, you know, power band. And so we'll find out together if that's higher RPM or not. E85 and this type of engine, probably maybe 9,500 RPM at max. Rotary swap on the Mark V Supra. Honestly, that was actually pretty exciting to consider. Toyota was involved too, surprisingly. But when the C8 came out, I think a lot of people are feeling the same thing. The C8 came out. It makes a lot of sense for me to rotary swap a C8 because there was a 4-rotor mid-engined Corvette prototype, you know, the Aerovet. So it makes sense. Instead of just saying, why a Supra, that's just weird. It makes sense to rotary swap the mid-engine Corvette. Yeah, Ashley, I'm just gonna keep eating Doritos, my Cool Ranch ones, until they sponsor me. Yeah, semi PP is for the other engine. We'll find out which engine responds better, because the semi peripheral ported one is just like this. It's street ported on the sides, but then it has a small center port. So we'll see. That's definitely gonna flow even higher. Am I going to anticipate a parachute? Yeah, that's probably for the top speed stuff. So the goals that have been from the beginning are continuing. Thankfully, nothing's changed that way. And as you guys can see, the audience hasn't lost any interest. They've all wished it was quicker. Here we are. But the straight line top speed stuff is first. And so I'm sure a parachute would actually be a good safety feature in case brakes, in case something lets out, especially at those insanely high RPM or high speeds. I don't want to watch the rest of the channel from heaven. I prefer to beat the shit out of this car for a couple more years. So I guess what I'm going to end up doing tonight. Man, I've been doing this for an hour. This goes so quick. Oh, yeah, Brad, nitrous on the 4-rotor. Who owns NOS? Holley. And so one of the very first questions they asked me is like, do you want nitrous? And I'm like, yes. you can't turn that down. So I'm a big fan of, raw engine, turbo, maximize your power there. And then, yeah, definitely go for nitrous. I think we'll probably do it on the engine dyno to see if the nitrous helps spool the turbo quicker. It will spool, but it'll be more like the old 3-rotor, I'm suspecting, where it's like, oh, it'll be a little bit of a delay there. Yeah, I'll take 2 of the big bottles. That's what it felt like. You see all these boxes? This is what it felt like when I got all those in 2 days. And so it felt like the squad was all driving around my F-150 Lightning, and we were dropping parts off for the car, for the build. Ooh, breaking the rear window. I didn't even know about that, Skeletor. Yeah, so I think what we'll do, we'll test it together. You guys can just hang out and watch this. This GoPro's hot as hell, and I'm sure it's gonna run out of battery soon. But this is the chest mount. So here's my goal here, is that I'm gonna mount this onto my chest, and maybe, the idea is that you guys can pop in and out as you see fit. So let's see, this is what it looks like to me. Read more comments. Original Fast and Furious, yeah. That car the original part of that car came from the original Fast and Furious. So the idea, this is kind of the idea of the shot. And guys, let me know in the comments. It gets kind of weird because if I lean forward or backwards or tilt this, things act up. But is the audio good? Imagine me wrenching on shit. For example, something I wrenched on here, I'll show you, is that the only piece I'm really waiting on, and again, I can take from the Corvette, is the trigger wheel. And I don't know if you guys know this. I'll show you right here. See how the key is 90 degrees to the left, or 9 o'clock if you're looking at times. That means that the front rotor is at top dead center. So the face of the rotor is actually compressed all the way right here. And so that's how you tell rotary timing. So now I need a trigger wheel that has a notch and a notch here to correspond to TDC. I don't have that. And that's gonna be pretty necessary to make sure this thing has proper timing. Well, I'm looking at the shot. It actually looks pretty good. Audio looks good, audio's good. Okay, great. Okay, that's, as you can see, I can see it in a good delay, and that makes this pretty promising, because even with Jarrett, and I'm not gonna knock, because Jarrett and I were a fucking monstrous team, he couldn't get this shot. He didn't know what I was gonna do next, and as a result, it made it really hard to get the shot. So you can see I have the engine mounts, which will have to get welded to the chassis. Waiting on all of the 6AN plugs, got them for here, but for each of that's the oil that goes into the new bearings there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turbo makes 6. That's 6 oil ports, all going into the engine. Man, yeah, I'm loving the footage. Okay, this is good. Again, I'll be unveiling. This is coolant hose. All of the oil hoses are 12 AN. I don't even want to touch this stuff because it just sucks that I have to actually mount it into the car. So the entire oil system is all 12 AN. It's massive. And then there's the 6 that I was just talking about. But I might have another solution coming up. So that's those. These are pretty nasty. I'll get into those on the public videos too. But these oil coolers, look at this. That's a 16 AN fitting. There's no limitation there, but 16 AN doesn't help me. So I've got this little reducer to get it back down to 12. So the oil coolers are not the restrictive part of the setup. I mean, 34 rows, oil is flowing through this damn car. So that is super, super, super exciting. No limitations there. There we go, there's the turbo, just sitting sadly on the ground because I didn't want it weighing down the oil pan too much. Okay, so I'm gonna pop this back off of me. Hand simulator for Rotor on Cocaine, yeah. Ezra, if I ever had a point to pick up a new habit, I've never done cocaine, but now might be the best time, right? Yeah, Josh, Australia, everything's expensive. You guys, everybody in the United States doesn't realize when you see a Corvette, even, I'm sure, in Australia, it costs you almost double. So a tow rig for the 4-rotor, yes. And again, you're right. That's what we can probably sell Doritos on. What you're noticing me do, and this is why it's so sick to be your own fabricator. You see this, and the engine stand, and all of that. All of these things make it like a race team feeling to be able to pull this engine in and out of the car quickly, set it on the stand. Tonight, one of the things I'm going to be doing is the ears on the Hollinger. That's where the transmission mounts are. I'm going to put the bell housing on the engine, and then those ears are going to sit somewhere like right here, the bell housing and then the transmission. And that was by design. The engine's here because the ears of the transmission will actually have another post come up, and then I can just slide the transmission onto the engine, pop it back down, and there'll be a plate down here to set it. So like being able to like work on this thing professionally is super exciting. Hardcore into Doritos, yeah, Ben. I'm gonna see it. Like, if you guys see me like overloaded with Doritos, you know, we did it. Brad, yeah, I would be the guy that would just keep going and start talking about some of the worst things possible while it's live streaming. Yeah, the oil coolers. I think hopefully that shows you just how massive they are. Okay, Philip. Good evening. I'm gonna pause this for a little bit, only because I need to drink water. GoPro's about to die. I think if you guys have any suggestions or thoughts or things you want to see posted on the Patreon, the post that you guys all saw this from, but write your thoughts down there. If you want to see, like, here's the shots I want to see, here's the videos I want to see, please. It helps me kind of organize the YouTube side of it because I'm so focused on just building a damn car. So let's plan on what we're gonna do. I guarantee you this, because partially this is a social thing for me. Let's plan on doing a live stream at least once a week, because that gives us at least 5 more live streams. It'll probably be way more, but just, let's not overpromise. Once a week, as we're working on the car, you guys get to kind of hang out, come in, drop out. I won't be as active like this, where I'm focused on you, but you can kind of like watch and laugh as I try to work on things. So if you guys think those sort of ideas, let me know if that's something you want to see happen. Yeah, awesome, Brad. Okay, yeah, you guys are that. Yeah, I gotta take care of myself. It's 8:45 here. I'm gonna go to Chipotle, which, if you notice, I've actually lost a lot of weight, not from a breakup with Jarrett, but just I've been hitting the gym a lot lately. You want to look good, so I'm at like 183. So I'm feeling good there. Yeah, battery pack for the GoPro. It's definitely going to be necessary. I've hated GoPros for the longest time. The 7, and hopefully whenever that 8 comes out, we got some choices here. Big boy. I was 202 a year ago. That was big boy. That was fat boy. Okay, guys. Thank you for everything. Absolutely so much. You don't understand. That's not some bullshit YouTuber saying that. Truly, thank you. I wouldn't be here. I get the YouTube side of it, the public side of it. I get all the attention and all that sort of shit. But really, it's really a team effort. And again, it's not some sort of bullshit corporate saying. I know that in my heart that I can't thank you guys enough. So even just talking and being involved, thank you so much for being there through the worst of it. It all kind of pays off in the next 60 days and then continues on. So let's enjoy all that. So thank you guys. If it's the evening, good evening. If it's for some of you guys, good morning. And we will catch up soon.